connection between the sensor, transducer and your mobile phone. Better option is to use a watch, because watch gives me enough space to put my electronics into it also. Like I can put an ARM processor inside my watch, and then the watch have a Bluetooth connectivity with my mobile phone. If that is done, what is the next step? The default screen of your mobile phone is going to be your body parameters like your pulse rate, your oxygen saturation level, and whatever else you can put into your skin conductance and all. And there will be a comparable table that if your normal heart rate or normal pulse rate or oxygen level is deviating from the band which is permissible to you, everything is fine. Otherwise, it will start beeping. And it will give you audio warning that yes, your heart rate is not under control, your oxygen level is not under control, and your pulse rate is not same as your heart rate is. Let me tell you, pulse rate and heart rate are normally same, but they are not the same under certain conditions. Okay, once this thing is monitored, it has to be monitored without the knowledge of the person. At what time it is being monitored? Okay, it will be monitored in the morning, it will be monitored in the afternoon, it will be monitored in the evening, or it could be at random time. And then you must have a wide area network connectivity. So wherein the data from the mobile by default will go and the data and get deposited into central depository where doctors and experts will be sitting and looking at that data. And then if at all things go really bad, there will be automatic warning generated to an ambulance and come and pick you up from wherever you are. That's the level of expert system I'm trying to achieve. Now my knowledge is not there at zero as far as the mobile phones are concerned, as far as the Wi-Fi is concerned, as far as Bluetooth is concerned. I'm good at physics and I want to remain good at physics. So I'm looking at the collaborations where I interact with the people from the experts in the different fields and then collect all the information put in and make an intelligent system, wearable instruments. I won't call them as phone-based instrument, wearable mobile. When I say mobile, it's actually something which is not stationary. That's what I mean by mobile. Which you can carry with you as a variant, like you carry your bag, you carry your wristwatch, you carry the mobile phones, and that's basically a full-fledged instrumentation. I look at the mobile phones in a different angle. It's a full-fledged instrument. It has got a data processing system, it has data acquisition storage, it has got all the 3 sensors, it has got all the actuators which you require. Only thing that is missing in the mobile phone is the smell and the sense. Once that is developed, you are literally carrying a human companion with you. Okay, which is all the time looking at what is happening to you, and then without any human intervention, it will have enough intelligence to tell the people concerned, maybe a doctor or anybody else, that yes, this patient is under such and such a critical condition, and he can be transported to the nearest hospital by the whatever mode of transport is available, and then they are already ahead of time ready with what is to be given treatment to him. Okay, that's how the overall project scenario is going. I'm right at the beginning, bottom of the project. There's a long way to go. Fine. With this introduction, I think you understand the purpose for which I'm trying to build this instrument. I'm trying to make not a pulse oximeter that is already being done by me. It's a tabletop model which you can see in some of the YouTube presentations. What I want to do is first convert from a tabletop to mobile, one which is wearable and movable. Then next step will be put that into a phone, or rather put this entire thing into a mobile phone, which using Android. I prefer Android because it's time proven that Android is better than Symbian, or yet to, and it has proved itself. There are other things like MeeGo and other operating systems are likely to come, but we don't have any experience of working with them. And I'm trying to learn a language called Python, which is a much better language than C for programming your embedded system. So next generation embedded systems, I expect them to be programmed using a Python language. What I feel is that language is just a means to an end. What you should develop an ability is to be a good algorithm developer. Once you do the algorithm development, you know next choice is whether you want to implement an algorithm on hardware or software. That your local expertise come into it. So let's see how my work is trying to follow the path which I have taken on before. Any questions up till now? We will ask them, rather than doing it at the end of the session, I would ask questions after every small subtopic I've covered. Yeah.
Is your own experience?
Yes.
How much you find like an idea, innovation? People talk about innovation here, but I think it's just a talk. Because in the innovation, you have to put money on it, and then only maybe 3 or 4% would work. But innovation is that what you have to pay for innovation. But anyway, how do you find it, the support of new ideas in the place you are? I mean, so, you come up with an idea. I see the
oxygen level measurement.
And how much support you have to develop that to a point that is commercialized? That's the question.
Okay, I'll answer the question in a little different manner. Okay. First thing, you have to be stupid enough to have crazy ideas. That's the first requirement. You have to be stupid enough to have crazy ideas, which appear crazy at this point of time. Okay? Nobody thought that there would be a mobile phone through which you can communicate and you can see what is happening at the other end of the world. But they were ideas some people had. Now I'm talking about a mobile phone with all the 5 senses. It's a crazy idea. Right now nobody sees any application for that. But there's no money for as far as having ideas are concerned. Right? Once these ideas are actually spoken to the world around, I get a feedback as to say, okay, whether these ideas need to be implemented at all at this stage of the time, or there is no need to implement. Fine. If all of you agree that yes, this idea is good and it needs to be implemented, then we start looking around for how do you break up this idea into what things have to be developed, what hardware is to be developed, what software is to be developed, whether the existing software and hardware technology basis we have, whether it is adequate for implementing this idea or not. So up to that point of time, it's only your intellectual input that goes into the system. So if people like me, who don't have any job to do, I'm jobless at the moment of time, have enough time to do a sort of thinking like this. It may be unrealistic at this point of time, yes, but once I have a meeting of people like you can say, okay, this is worth doing it. Then probably you can have resources like human resources, the material resources which is around you, make the best use of it. Simple thing is like if you want to make an instrument, obvious choice for me is, do I make a physical instrument or do I make a virtual instrument? My choice would be to go for a virtual instrument. Because you already got investments in terms of your laptops, mobile phones and what have you. Then why build another set of hardware and say it's my pulse oximeter? Why can't I say that my mobile phone itself is my pulse oximeter? Why can't I say that my mobile phone itself is my andrometer? Why can't I say that my mobile phone itself is my Euroflowmeter? All I need to do is develop an application over and above the existing hardware and software we have and convert that resource itself into an instrument. Other option is take your laptop PC and make all your instruments into virtual instruments. You are really making the best use of the hardware resource right now. So I don't really think that we need more inputs as far as the development part is concerned. But yes, afterwards, after the product is developed and acceptable to the society, yes, the investment will come to the picture. And that will depend on the quantity of the pieces that you want to make. My modest imagination is that if I develop that mobile pulse oximeter, which has got the capability of looking at your pulse rate and body parameters, how many pieces do I require? As many living people are there on the earth beyond the age of 40 would definitely require a mobile pulse oximeter, mobile phone based pulse oximeter. That's my estimate. But I will never like to sell a product, I would like to lease a product. I hope I have tried to answer your question. Yeah.
Are you using the 600 nanometers and 900 nanometer technology for the LEDs?
Yeah. But then the correct procedure, I would like you to refer to this paper. It's a golden standard by HP. It's a new family of sensors and pulse oximetry where they go for 8 wavelengths, not 2 wavelengths. I'll come one by one. If you use single wavelength, what do you get? You get pulse rate. If you take only red or only infrared, you'll be able to get a pulse rate and the plethysmograph. Plethysmograph is the same thing as what you get in the ECG or blood pressure going. But nothing beyond that is possible. Yes, but that single wavelength pulse oximetry can also, I mean, it's not called oximetry. Single wavelength monitoring of your pulse rate can give you very important information. Because looking at the amplitude of the AC signal that you get, you can find out what is the pressure with which the heart is pumping blood into the artery. The reason is, the more the amplitude of the AC signal, the more is the quantity of blood that is going into the peripheral organs, and therefore it all amounts to how the